All right, let's talk about one of the biggest financial decisions you'll ever make, buying or selling a home. But we're going to tackle it from a totally different angle. We're going to see how to ditch the emotional roller coaster and instead use a powerful, data-driven strategy to win. So, let me just ask you straight up. What do you think is the single biggest mistake people make in real estate? Is it picking the wrong neighborhood? Bad timing with the market? I mean, those are big deals for sure. But the real number one mistake is actually something way more fundamental. And there it is. This is the core of the whole problem. Most of us, and it's totally natural, start on the left. We see the perfect curb appeal, we fall in love at the kitchen, or we're just so attached to the home we grew up in. The thing is, making decisions from that emotional place can be incredibly expensive. The alternative, it's a simple switch in your thinking. A data-driven approach that starts with one simple rule. Verify the real value before you get emotionally or financially tangled up. So that brings us to our first big idea, the emotion versus data trap. Let's really break down why trusting your gut feeling in a real estate deal can be a recipe for financial disaster. And believe me, these pitfalls are everywhere. You see sellers who price their home based on 20 years of wonderful memories, not what the market can actually bear. You see buyers who get totally swept away by some fancy staging, the perfect furniture and a fresh coat of paint, and they end up overpaying for what's basically just good marketing. In both situations, wishful thinking completely takes over, and the hard, verifiable facts about the home's actual condition or what's happening in the local market, they just get pushed to the side. Now, the antidote to all this isn't to turn into some kind of heartless robot. Not at all. The goal is super simple. You get clarity before you make a commitment. You anchor your entire strategy in facts first, so that when the emotions do kick in, and they will, they can't pull you off course. Okay, so let's see how this builds. Because when you're dealing with this much money, close enough is just not good enough. Accuracy is your ultimate leverage. And we're about to see the very real, very hidden costs of getting it wrong. Let's just put a number on it to make it real. On a typical home, let's say it's worth around $425,000. Being off by just 1% on the price, whether you're buying or selling, that's a mistake worth over $4,000. 1%. Just think about how easy it is to be off by that much if you're just going with a hunch. And that one little percent, it snowballs fast. A 3% mistake is suddenly almost $13,000. A 5% error, now you're talking over $21,000. For a seller, that's just hard-earned equity vanishing into thin air. For a buyer, that's cash right out of your pocket. This is the real, tangible cost of not being accurate. But the damage isn't just about the final number on a spreadsheet. When a seller overprices their home, it does more than just sit there. It starts to get stale. Buyers get skittish. They start wondering, hey, what's wrong with that place? Why hasn't it sold? And with every single week that ticks by, the seller is losing their most valuable asset in the whole game, their negotiating power. And check this out. This data from Zillow just says it all. Homes that are priced correctly right out of the gate and sell immediately, they get on average 99% of their asking price. Makes sense. But look what happens when a property just sits there. After about 2 months, the average sale price drops to 95% of what they originally asked for. And if it's still on the market after nearly a year, whoa, it's down to just 88%. The longer it sits, the less you get. Overpricing is a direct flight to a lower sale price. Period. But here's the thing. This problem goes even deeper than our own personal emotions. It's actually baked into the very structure of how real estate deals have been done for decades. So to really fix it, we have to rethink the role of the real estate agent and get everyone's incentives pointing in the same direction. At the very heart of this is a classic conflict of interest. It's basically any situation where a professional is supposed to have a duty to multiple people, but their interests are pulling in opposite directions. In real estate, this can subtly, or, not so subtly, warp the advice you end up getting. Just look at how these roles usually break down. A listing agent's pay is tied directly to the sale price, right? So there's a natural bias toward a higher valuation. It helps them win the listing. On the other side, a buyer's agent might lean toward a lower valuation to make an offer look like a great deal. Now, look all the way to the end. The independent consultant. They don't represent the buyer or the seller. They have zero stake in the final price. Their only goal, their only skin in the game, is getting the number right. So this points to a really clear and, honestly, common sense solution. A separation of duties. Let your agent be your champion, your negotiator, your advocate. Let them do what they do best.
But let an independent, unbiased third party handle that critical first step of figuring out what the property is actually worth. Right there, you've removed the entire conflict of interest from the equation.
Which brings us right to the solution, the Data First Playbook. This is a new way of doing things, a new model that is designed to give both buyers and sellers total clarity and confidence before they're stuck in the trenches of a negotiation.
Now, the key tool in this playbook is something called a broker price opinion, or a BPO. And let me be clear, this is not your Zestimate, okay? It's not some computer algorithm just spitting out a number. A BPO is a detailed analysis done by a real human expert who is looking at the property's actual condition, digging into the most relevant recent sales, and spotting those little micro trends in a neighborhood that a computer would totally miss. It's nuance plus numbers. And the process itself? It's refreshingly simple. Step 1, before you do anything else, you get that independent BPO. That number becomes the factual anchor for your entire game plan. Step 2, based on that objective number, you and your team build your strategy for pricing, for making offers, for negotiating. And then step 3, you go execute that strategy with your agent, who is now totally free to be a fierce advocate for you because they're backed by solid, undeniable data. So what does this actually mean for you? Well, if you're a seller, it means your asking price is defensible from day one, which leads to much cleaner negotiations. If you're a buyer, you're getting verified due diligence before your earnest money is even on the line. And for both of you, this massively reduces the risk of one of those deal-killing surprises, like a low appraisal, and it ensures that the decisions you make can stand up to scrutiny from anyone, lenders, appraisers, you name.
Okay, so let's just pull back for a second and look at the big picture. This isn't just some clever tactic for one deal. This is a framework for a new standard in real estate, one where data and human expertise finally work together to create predictable success.
And the impact really lifts up the whole system. Sellers stop leaving their hard-earned money on the table. Buyers are protected from making huge, costly mistakes. Investors can deploy their capital with way less risk. And even the agents benefit, because their advice and their strategies are now supported by hard evidence, not just emotion, which makes them way more effective for their clients.
You know, it all really comes down to this one simple idea, and I think this quote just nails it. It says, data-driven clarity plus human experience equals real estate success. It's not about replacing people with computers. It's about combining the absolute clarity that data gives you with the irreplaceable value of human experience. That combination, that's the winning formula. So I'll just leave you with this one final question. Now that you've seen the real cost of emotion and the massive benefit of clarity, are you prepared to let data lead the way in what might just be the biggest financial decision of your life? The choice could literally be worth thousands. Thanks for watching.